This comparison is going to be very interesting because, in my opinion, I have a microphone that I love the company, but I'm kind of on the microphone. Then I have a company that I'm kind of on, but a microphone I kind of like. Welcome back to the Rebel Tech channel. I'm Justin, and in this video we're going to be comparing the AT2040 by Audio Technica, if the AT wasn't a dead giveaway, and the ElGato Wave DX, the dynamic XLR microphone by ElGato. And continuing my comparisons of this microphone to other ones I've covered in the past. And of course, this will lead up to a big budget broadcast battle that I will do a sequel to that I had before. And that's going to be an interesting production because I don't know how I'm going to do it. We'll see. I have some ideas, but if you have any ideas of how I'm going to do the, let's see, six microphones in one video, let me know. I can do it on a couple of stands, or I could do it one by one, but that's kind of boring. So how could I do this? Let me know down in the comments and let me know what you think. So back to these microphones. Let's talk about the build. Start off. The AT2040 has a nice build. It's really robust and I really like it. Has a bit of a pop filter in the metal mesh, underneath the metal mesh. And just a nice construction. I really love the way this thing is built. And if you feel it, you feel like you got a sturdy microphone. The ElGato, on the other hand, I feel that it was kind of like, the more and more I talk about these microphones, I can't use the excuse that it's a budget microphone. The problem I have with that is, if they're the same price, that means that either they boosted the price and saved some money and made more of the profit margin, or they gave more to the innards and the production inside. I'll leave that up to you guys. I don't know for sure. I'm not in contact with these guys. And of course, if anybody from Audio Technica or ElGato watches this video, which I highly doubt, let me know. Because it's one of those things like, how can these things be the same price, but certain things are a little better than the other? You would think that if it's at a certain price point, they would save like certain things. But regardless, in my opinion, and it seems to be a common thing with this, the comparisons with this ElGato mic, the build goes to the other mic. There is two microphones. I think two more. Is it two more? Yes, two more. I have them laid out here so I don't forget. Sorry about bumping the mic stand. There's two more. And in those two, I think the build quality is going to be closer. But in this case, the Audio Technica definitely takes it. This video is one of many examples of these microphones. There are a lot of people who cover these microphones, and I want everyone to go out and see other examples. I'm not the only voice. My opinion is only my own. I can't give you other people's opinions because that's theirs. Go watch other videos if you want to hear a different tone, a different voice, a different perspective on these microphones and audio samples. I can only give you what I have, and the production that I have is my own and just the way I do things. If you want something different, I'll consider it. I can't guarantee I'm going to do it, but I'll consider it. I'm open. I'm an open-minded person. Without getting philosophical, let's back up and do a distance test. All right. This is a distance test about 2 feet away from the fronts of the microphones. This is what it's going to sound like. We have a hypercardioid polar pattern over here and a cardioid polar pattern over here. More focused on this side, a little less on this side. Let's see how they compare. And we're going to add in the sweet spots. 90-degree test. ElGato side. This is what it's going to sound like. Stage left. And yes, this is what it's going to sound like on the Elgato side and further away from the Audio Technica. Closer to the Audio Technica, 90-degree test, about a foot and a half, maybe a foot away from the Audio Technica, a little further away to the Elgato. This is what it's going to sound like in my little studio here, and now we're going to do the sweet spots as best I can. Now about 135 to 150, I forget the degrees, but it's a, like kind of like that corner spot. Quote, little ears here. It looks kind of phallic, or not phallic, but sexy. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Sweet spot on the stage right side. Last but certainly not least, we're about 180 degrees from the backs of the microphones. Hypercardioid is supposed to focus in on the front, kind of really reject that side in the sweet spot, but there is a bit of a byproduct of that, having a pickup in the back. All right, boot test with Wave DX and the AT2040, a microphone that I haven't listened to much in the past couple of months. It's not been something that I've been using at all. I've been making a lot of stuff lately and trying to get back into it. I'm listening to the Wave DX though right now, and I don't know. All these tests, it's hard to say much more about the Wave DX. It's really just a comparison. So let's go to the 2040. And this one I know is known for having that narrowed frequency response. So keep that in mind. It's just for my voice specifically, not a fan. It's nasally, it's mid forward, it's not a fan. And sure, it's a hypercardioid polar pattern, but at what cost? Some people like that mid-forward sound. I don't know. There's certainly an application for it. I just don't see it in vocals, broadcast at least. Maybe if you're looking for, I don't know, maybe an instrument mic or whatever it is, that you're looking for more of a mid-forward sound. I don't know. That's a tough one. Maybe acoustic guitar. I don't know. I'm not a really good guitar player, so maybe I'll find someone, one of my friends that plays guitar, and have them play. So we'll see. As far as the tone, I'm definitely going this side. Tap test. I might not like the sound, but oh boy, that's a good build. Night and day. Can't really say much more. All right, plosive Wave DX. 2040. About the same. Going around. This is what it's going to sound like coming over. Remember, hypercardioid polar pattern. This is the deadest point right here. This is what it's going to sound like going around the back, 180 degrees. And back around the other side, 90 degrees. Try not to fall over, and back in the front. All right, going around Wave DX. This is what it's going to sound like. Cardioid polar pattern. And this is what it's going to sound like over here. And moving around to the back, this is what it's going to sound like. Great build over here. Pretty good rejection. Very good rejection, actually. It's just that sound. That's just what matters. I mean, that's the whole thing with the Zoom ZDM1. I love the sound, but I hate the build. This one, I hate the sound, but I love the build. They should, if I could put all the innards of the ZDM1 inside this, I would love it. I said it. Sorry. Just the way it is. Audio Technica should steal the innards of a ZDM1 in, or maybe I should. That's the modification. Buy another one of these and put the ZDM1 innards inside of it. That's an idea. I don't know. Not my thing. I know. Audio Technica people, I'm one of them. I've always loved Audio Technica, but this microphone is not. This microphone is here for two reasons: build quality, polar pattern, and I need some variety of a different tone. So keep that in mind. If you're interested in that tone, more mid-forward, not as much low end, If you don't have a nasally voice, maybe it's good for you. But if you have a nasally voice like I do, no. To the untreated room. All right, so untreated room with the AT2040 and the Wave DX. I'm going to do this in this room. If you've followed the series of comparisons with the Wave DX, you know that I'm doing this in the rest of the basement next to the studio, which is right behind me. It's a bigger room, so you probably got more room noise and room echo. So keep that in mind. If you want specifics on what the room's dimensions are, leave it down in the comments, or you could check out the individual video where I kind of explain the whole ambiance and surrounding area. And of course, if it isn't like too drastic of a change in like compared to my other untreated rooms, then I can do those tests at a later date. So keep that all in mind. Now, I've been about 2-3 inches away from the fronts of the microphones. Remember, hypercardioid and cardioid. Big difference. All right, so this is what it's going to sound like about 2 feet away from the fronts of the microphones in the untreated room. Very long room and a lot of stuff in it, but still a long room, short ceiling, so it could reverberate down. But you really don't hear it because the studio has the same ceiling, so keep that in mind. Now on stage left, this is what it's going to sound like in the untreated room. And I'm running out of things to say, I really am. These tests have been tough to do because it's been really hot and humid, and it just rained today. And it's like a swamp. It's really a swamp. If there could be over 100% humidity, today would be the day. Now, moving stage left in the sweet spot of the hypercardioid, mostly for the hypercardioid. This was going to sound like 130 to 150 degrees, I think it is. It's been a while since I've looked up what the actual... Now 90 degrees on the stage right side, on the AT2040 side. This is what it's going to sound like in the studio. And again, hypercardioid polar pattern on that AT2040. So when you listen to this, you may notice a significant difference in rejection of noise on the off-axis stuff. Lastly, 180 degrees in the untreated room. This is what it's going to sound like behind both these microphones. Remember, the hypercardioid does have a little bit of a bulb of pickup on the back. So keep that in mind when you're listening to this, because you can have some extra pickup. But honestly, these microphones do pretty well at rejecting 180 degrees, regardless if it's cardioid or hyper, so keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to make some notes and listen to it in post and do some editing, and then I'll do my outro where I'll give you a layout of how I feel after listening to it in post. Alright, so it's pretty obvious how I feel about these microphones, and obviously the Wave DX is my choice. But I'm going to go in depth and give a post-processing point of view, just a post-listening point of view. I'm going to point out a couple of things before I go into the tone of the microphone and the off-axis rejection. So as far as build is concerned, definitely goes to the 2040. There are a couple things that the 2040 has better than the Wave DX, but I think the build quality is definitely the thing that stands out. Now, other things that were specific, plosives, pretty even. I would say that it's not better one or the other. Maybe if you listened a little more closely. Now into the tone and other stuff that really stood consistent throughout the different environments. That's why I got that out of the way, because this next section, this next part, really encompasses all of the parts, and it was just better off putting that all together rather than going in each section and repeating myself. So this applies to the studio, the booth, and the untreated room. Common thing, the 2040 is way too mid-heavy. At least on my voice, it really is emphasized. Now, maybe it's because my voice is nasally and I deal with that kind of tone in my voice, but certain microphones make it sound better and kind of take away from those tones that I don't like and don't sound very good. The 2040 does the complete opposite. It emphasizes those tones and gives it a more at least in my opinion, an unlistenable tone. So keep that in mind. The DX, at least compared to the 2040, just has a wider range, which you could see on the chart, and you could see just in the way it sounds, or hear in the way it sounds, because it's like night and day. Like when you switch it over, as you saw in the video, it expands. It's like it's inflating and deflating every time I change the microphone. Next up, distance, pretty even. I noticed that it was kind of a different tone coming back to the microphone, but as far as the level was concerned, it seemed about the same. 90 degrees and so on, it's gonna be going towards the 2040. So as the 90s are concerned, slight edge, not by much, but a slight edge to the 2040. The sweet spot, definitely 2040 wins, and on the 180, slight edge to the 2040. Now, of course, being a hypercardioid polar pattern in the 2040, it makes sense that this section would be more favorable in that department. But when it comes down to it, the tone of the microphone is what matters. And at least in my opinion, the Wave DX is a better option with the tone. And that's what matters when you talk about microphones. Of course, plosive rejection, off-axis stuff, distance, rejection of noise, those are things that go into it. But they can only do so much when the tone is not for you. I'm not going to say it's a bad microphone. I'm just going to say it's not for me. So that all being said, that's all I got for you. The Wave DX is definitely my choice in this comparison. I got a couple more coming up. I got the MV7X and the SM7B going up against the Wave DX. So if you liked the video, please hit the like button down below. It'd be greatly appreciated. Helps this video, helps this channel, that whole thing. If you like my vibe around here, please consider subscribing. I promise I'll be back making more videos. Probably in January, definitely getting more stuff out. That's my goal, and have more time, be able to focus on things. Mentally, I have been drained, so with work and everything. Work is good, it's just a lot of work. And yeah, comments down below. Make sure it's nice. Don't be rude, please. I appreciate that. And I'm not going to ramble anymore. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you rebels in the next video.